This is SIBN Radio. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube at Select USA TV. This is SIBN Radio.
I want to ask you a question. Who's coaching you? Who's asking you the tough questions? Who's telling you, man, you're the common denominator to all of your issues and challenges? Who's telling you, man, all day long you become the magnetic pulse that attracts to you both good and bad? I want to be your life coach. I want to be the one that cheers you on to the finish line. I want to be the one that you ask the tough questions. And it doesn't mean that I have all the answers, but that means that you have a partner, someone who believes in you, not the you see right now, but the you can't imagine, the you that you are to become, the you are destined to be. I always say we both need the positive and the negative. It's not enough to have the knowledge of the matter, but we must have the wisdom as well. For wisdom settles it. And that's what I want to offer you as you join me on the Coach's Corner. I want to offer you the wisdom of the matter. Maybe it might be relationships, talking about our campaigns for more, for life, the dark room of our subconscious, our spiritual journey, whatever it is. I want to be there to encourage you, to build you, to challenge you, to cheer you on to the finish line. I'm qualified to do this. Why? Because I'm you. Well, welcome aboard to another edition of the Coach's Corner, and I thank you for joining me. For those of you that are joining me on Spreaker, Voicecast, Ustream, YouTube, Facebook, block programming on SIBN Radio by SelectUSATV.com, as well as SIBNTelevision.com and other platforms, including Blog Talk Radio, iTunes, and beyond. Thank you so very much for joining us for another edition of the Coach's Corner. My name is Marcus Salette. Assuredly, I bring to the table my own personal and professional issues, of which I have the scars to prove that I have fought in the battles of life. But I hope that I'm also bringing to the table the wisdoms and the understandings of which will give me or allow me to earn the right to speak into your life. Today we want to talk about the attack on fatherhood and how sickening it is becoming. And I trust that you will be able to share this with a friend. The attack on fatherhood is significantly increasing, and it makes me sick to the stomach. You rarely hear people interfering, at least I do, with mothering. Why are you interfering with fathering? Is it too hard? You can't stomach what a father has to do? Stay tuned. Fathering in America has increasingly become a task. At best, we as fathers are trying, those of us who are responsible, we're trying to guide our children to a future that is relatively unknown, predictable by trends and cultural patterns, of course, but unpredictable in the sense that we don't still know what the future holds. We can only guess. My job is to get my child or children ready for the world to come, not for the world that just is. I'm a little sick and tired of interference. Early in my fatherhood years, as earnest as I was and as serious as I was, there was a lot of interference. And the interference came from those who had no father in their lives, whether it be relatives, whether it be friends or family or constituents. The problem I have with the early years is that the scars from the battles that I fought was to sync myself with the same message that I thought was authentic coming from various communities and various platforms. Stand up and be a man. Be responsible. be accountable. And I have since found out, and I have the scars to prove it, that while we cry we want men to stand up and be men, we're not ready for the men that stand up. And I'm a little sick and tired of the double talk. Either you want a man to stand up or you don't. Either you want a man to be a man or you don't. And then, of course, my frustration with fatherhood issues also comes from the gay community, because there seems to be this elevation of sensual and sexual identification and genderification as the focal point for American culture. And while we're so focused on how good we feel, whether we come out of the closet or not, we're leaving, in my opinion, by the wayside the fatherhood traditions of all time. Now women want to father boys. I heard a woman say, "I can father and mother my child." This sickens me. Because when God created a child, he gave the child the balance of both sexes, both male and female, in order to properly and appropriately develop into the human being, responsible and accountable by all means, that he or she should be. But unbeknownst to me, somehow or another, we figured a way around appropriate developmental platforms and have come up with our own way. And then I'm also frustrated and sickened by the church's interference with fatherhood issues. Now, I'm not for many things that a lot of fathers stand for. For instance, a lot of fathers talk the talk but don't walk the walk. A lot of fathers are abusive, not only to their children but also to their wives. A lot of fathers are irresponsible. They don't bring home the bacon, or they eat the bacon before they bring it home. A lot of fathers are cheaters. And I'm not talking about any of those fathers. I'm talking about fathers who pretty much shoot straight from the hip. They mean what they say and say what they mean. I'm a little sick of being attacked as a father whose only intention is to prepare my child for the future, by which is, according to all standards, uncertain at best. So I want to tell all of my family, friends, and constituents, and I'm speaking in third person, or I'm speaking for those who can't speak for themselves, to get off my back. When you hear me come down on my child, stand back and take a breather. Stand back and take a breather. That goes for our communities, globally speaking. And we have an attack going on fatherhood unlike we've never seen. We don't really even care, it seems, about the fatherhood dynamic of a child's development. Now let's talk about some of the things that the fatherhood in a balanced way brings to the table. Number one, the father brings to the table the voice factor. I said what I mean and meant what I said. It didn't sound sweet. It didn't sound nice. It didn't sound inviting. It didn't necessarily sound cordial. For instance, pick up your clothes. Pick up your clothes simply means pick them up. Pick them up now. Not tomorrow. Not after you finish playing the video game. Not after your television program goes off. But pick them up right now. Fold up your clothes. Prepare your clothes for tomorrow. These are simple instructions that have nothing to do with overbearing a child or breaking a child's spirit. So a father brings to the table his voice, a voice of authority, a voice of assurity, a voice of confidence, that when I give you a command, it's not a request. But there are times when I will give you a request. This is not one of them. A father also brings to the table the play factor, the ability to play with the child, the ability to engage the child in safe play, whether it be with toys or whether it be with a project, or whether it be with the child's integration with sports or beyond. Fatherhood also brings to the child's appropriate development the ability to solve problems. I remember I have 4 children. On the last child, I remember telling him when he brought home some money from his little job, there was a certain amount of money that was missing. So I asked him, I said, well, what happened to the rest of it? Well, I stopped by the store and I did this and I did that, and I found out later that week that he had loaned his best friend's mother some money. And, according to my father's standards, I would have been really hot. I was kind of hot under the collar about that, but realizing that I don't want to break the child's spirit, and I understand the child's dynamic personality and what would break the child's spirit, so making sure that as I approach the child that I have that in mind, that his spirit will be intact after the engagement. And I simply said to him, there is no way that I can teach you what I need to teach you about money if you break protocol. If you don't keep protocol, I cannot be consistent in my dissemination of information to you on how money works. So what I'm going to need you to do is X, Y, and Z. And that X, Y, and Z simply meant bring your money home first before you disperse it. Said what I meant what I said, and won't take it back. If you want me to work with you in teaching you how to work and budget your money, you got to follow protocol. Now, others in his life, whether it be his mother, grandmother, or brother, sister, this is not saying that something happened from those entities per se, siblings or otherwise, but other people putting in their 2 cents means nothing to me. It means absolutely nothing. And that's the thing about parenting, that as a father, that many people just can't get there. Everything that we disseminate to our children as fathers is not flowery and emotionally cordial. There are days and there are times, there are seasons when we have to say what we mean and mean what we say. Another aspect that the father brings to the table is, as I said earlier, the ability to solve problems. And, there's this thing that's floating around, culture and families and communities that, boys, they just get mad. They just get mad. Well, what happens with men is that when we can't solve a problem, even to the youngest boy that's becoming a man, when we can't solve a problem, we get angry, because men are achievement based. I will say that 1,000 times before it really sinks. For those of you that are looking for love in a man, remember, he is achievement based. He's not relationship based. That's secondary to a man. And he learns that from, good relationships with his parents or with his mate or uncles, aunties, grandfather, grandmother, all that. But primarily a man is achievement based, and relationship based is for women. Women are relationship based. If you get a woman alone, she will talk about family and friends before anything else. If you get a man alone, he'll talk about his car, his rims, or his business, or his projects, because that's how we're wired. So in the training of a child, the man is trying to get the child through the now and to the future. We don't need you to tell us, be easy on them and go, and that's the problem. I mean, we have a dynamic of fathers that are already missing in action. We have the dynamic of young fathers who donate the sperm and donate the child, but don't stick around for much more. And then we have the father, of course, that's incarcerated. It's just strange to me that when we find fathers who step up to the plate, and I'm talking about I stepped up to the plate early on with my first child, and the opposition that I have seen is sickening. It is absolutely sickening, and it hails from those individuals who did not have great relationships with men, or a relationship with their father, or was raised in a feminine-based environment. And it angers me that because you don't know what the heck a father is, that you would step to me, of which I have been contemplating fatherhood since I was a child, reading books and watching my father and listening to teachings and going to church and plotting and planning in my heart that if I ever have a child, I will be integral towards that child. I will consider that child's future before I go forward in an action. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it has always panned out the way I've wanted it. But I can tell you this, the attack on fatherhood has made me sick. It's made me sick. And we're supposed to, pamper our kids 24/7. That's what's wrong with the kids now. It's bad enough that they have to police themselves. It's bad enough that they have 1,000 distractions. It's bad enough that they have to go to an educational system that's antiquated and sit there 8 to 9 hours and deal in a system that does not deal with how they learn or their intelligence, but deals with them based on a state, federal, municipality mandate that does not measure up to these days and times, or measures up to the 21st century. It's bad enough that our children have to succumb to a myriad of testing in order to measure their intelligences. And on and on and on it goes. Bad enough that we have unemployed youth that can't even practice job retention skills because they can't even get a job. And I made a promise to myself that no matter what happens in my life, that no matter who aggravates or aggregates me, for better or for worse, that I would maintain my self-control and my self-development for the sake of my children. And I don't need you, mothers, single women, religious, left or right-wing folk stepping to me, telling me to take it easy on my child. I have a Holy Spirit who will guide me, who will teach me. I have an intelligent mind that I can inquire, which I have often done, of the child's mother to get insight. But I'm a little sick and I'm a little tired of the interference, the attack, the belittling of the fatherhood position when active. But all around we hear the discussions socioeconomically. Oh, we need men to step up. The hell you do, because when a man step up, then you don't want a man to step up. Because he's too hard, he's too firm, he's too this, he's too that. Well, what the hell do you want? Do you want a man in the child's life, or don't you? And really, I'm not even asking your permission, and men need to stop asking permission, which they often have to condescend to a permission-based fatherhood. What the hell is that? Well, you have to ask permission to be who you are made to be. Well, we don't ask mothers we don't tell mothers that they have to have permission. And then you start telling a woman that, you're going too easy, you're too this, but she'll have 25,000 words to your statement. Your 7-word statement. You start telling them how to do their job as a mother. Boy, they'll land into you, man. They'll land into you real good. But when the men step up, you've got to be questioned. Children need the balance of both. They need the balance of the nurturing of the mother. They need the balance of a father that nurtures them as well. I'm not talking about breaking the child's spirit. Or I could talk about that. Or I could talk about breaking a child's spirit, because my spirit as a child was broken. I didn't want to live. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't even want my name. That's how dysfunctional my experience with my father was. Thank God today it's healed, and we are talking and sharing and giving insight. But I just don't think that we have given enough credit. Now, if you're a player, pimp, and punk, you get a lot of credit in this culture, in this society. If you're a thug, you get a lot of respect and honor in this society. But if you're a father, straight up, from the flow up, if you're a father in a balanced way, you have to tolerate insults and questions. And sometimes I want to be like the mafia used to be. Stay out of my business. You know, sometimes I just want to be that way. But I try to be cool, you know. I try to be cordial. But I can't be cordial 24/7. That's not my makeup. You're asking me to do something that I'm not made to do. I'm not made to be. I'm made to be a peacemaker. But even in peace, everybody's not going to be happy. One Bible verse says that God gives a peace that passes your understanding. Because I'm telling you right now, if you're trying to understand peace before you inherit it, you'll never inherit peace. You need a peace that'll bypass your comprehension of what that peace is all about. Accept it by faith. But that's another thing about fathers. We are peacemakers. At the end of the day, we do whatever is necessary to maintain an environment of peace. Not hostility and constant confrontation and constant ambiguity and constant, unresolved issues. It's a delicate thing to be a father. To be a man in today's vernacular, when everything goes, you can't seem to find a silver lining of respect and honor anywhere. And I'm sick of it. I'm tired of it. And I want to encourage you that if you see a man that is on his job, why don't you give him a pat on the back? Don't patronize him by all means. I'm not asking you to give him your sympathy, but give him some apathy. Imagine if you could. Women are saying in today's culture, well, I have to be both father and mother to my child. That's a load of hogwash. You wouldn't know how to be a father to your child if you tried. You're made to be a mother to your child. Be a mother. And there are often times when women meet men and in today's vernacular, the communities are disenchanted at best, disenfranchised, as they say in the political world, disconnected. You can't say anything to anybody else's child because somebody else will jump on you. That's my child. The hell what has happened? We used to be congruent. We used to have camaraderie. We have nothing now. We just have haphazard parenting efforts, parental efforts, where everybody's pulling for themselves. No one is pulling for others. I told my son, my last boy, I said, son, you're right on track. You're right on track. You're right where I planned for you to be, envisioned for you to be, but these are the things that you need to fine-tune. I've been saying the same thing to him about this fine-tuning thing for a couple of years now. They're little things. But I've noticed the interference seems to give them a license to not have to address the little things. And you know what? I'm not going to keep on talking about it. I'll let you find out for yourself. We gotta start. We gotta inaugurate our men back into communities. I mean, it used to be back in the old days that if a man was a drunk and he said something correct to a child, that the child took it in stride. I'm not saying that he had a lot of credibility because of his drinking problem, but I'm just saying we have alienated our children from fatherhood guidance, the guidance of fatherhood. We can't, man. Fathers, it's rough out here. But if we go the other direction and go pimp, player, punk, hood, and thug, we could get the respect and honor, because that's what society celebrates. Well, I'd be damned if I'm going to change now to adapt to what society wants. A real man doesn't care about society. He cares about being a peacemaker, being consistent, being authentic, being balanced as much as he can towards his children. Whether he can provide for them all or not, whether it doesn't diminish his authority. And you men out there that may be listening to this who have been a butthole to your kids, you need to stop it. Women are using that as a weapon against you. I'm just gonna say it, and I might get some emails and some pushback on it, but stop being a butthole to your kids. Stop breaking their spirits. You're giving me a bad name. Take your time, think through, and take your time also in being an example to your kids, and stop chucking around. Because the kids grow up and they remember. Kids grow up and they deal with the inner workings of the environmental exposure of having been around men like you. Players, pimps, and punks is not what we want 20 years from now. We don't want that. We know that people have their issues, and if you've grown up in a dysfunctional family and you didn't get, counseling, and you're trying, I get all that. But at the same time, respect your position as fathers. Providing is not just money, That needs to be talked about. I've done it with my children. Giving them advice and encouragement. And the next day, the next week, the next month, results. Boom. Results. 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 Then they veer off course. I can get you back on course. I can get you the results that you want. I can have you flowing. And one of my pet peeves for kids is that they shouldn't, particularly boys and girls, but when boys and girls reach a certain age, they shouldn't be broke. They should know how they should have some upward mobility in the ability to earn an income of some kind, whether it be $5 a week, $10 a week, $20 a week, whatever the case may be. I'm not talking about giving kids $120. You out of your mind? And that's another part of the problem. My son has to now integrate with other kids who flaunts their gifts from their mother in front of my son, and tell my son, why don't you have this? This is another aspect of the fatherhood situation that sickens me. My son comes back and questions me. Why don't I have this? Why don't I have that? And I just, my own personal opinion, that think that mothers tend to just appease their children with gifts and things because they don't have the necessary dynamic in fatherhood, accessibility to have that man engage that child and teaching him upward economic mobility. My time is gone. So it's been a rough one today. I make no apologies. One thing that I promised myself when I was young: I'll be true to my kids to the day I die. I may have my issues, but I'm not going to compound them. When I can keep it straight, it's going to be straight. So y'all get on out my way. I'm a father anyhow. So help me God.
You're listening to the sounds of your lifestyle improvement station.